What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the most valuable sports podcast, Crossover with Mikes and Takes. The Shot Callers once again is back. Brandon Worth here with a familiar guest that is not on screen. And no, it's not Joe Nagy. We got Travis Hicks here on the phone to talk with you guys. Travis, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. I love everything you and Joe have been doing. I'm happy to be a part of the Shot Callers, the crossover we have with Mikes and Takes MVSP. It's been amazing the growth we've had. All of us have been working over a year, together, and it's great that things are starting to get back in person. So I can't wait to be back in the studio with you guys in about a few weeks here.
For sure. It is starting to get towards school. I mean, it's been crazy. This summer has pretty much flew by. I know, Travis, you were with Royal Oak Leprechauns for their season. That went by super fast, and I know I've been at camps and work and stuff, and it's just been crazy, but really ready to get back in the studio this fall. And where can you do it? With Bulldog Radio, absolutely. So make sure you go check them out on social media at Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. And if you are a Ferris State student, we can't stress this enough. Come find us at Bulldog Beginnings and Bulldog Bonanza. We will be there, and you can find out everything about our club and how you can start your own podcast today. Me and Travis did that, and look where we are now, live on the air on YouTube, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. But we into our first topic we go. We have football on tap, of course. We're only a month away from week 1 of the NFL season, and of course that means 1 week away from the new regime in Detroit. Travis, our Lions, we're starting a new leaf. It is beginning of the Dan Campbell era. What are your thoughts so far on what you've heard from training camp for this upcoming year?
Yes, I think what I've heard has been amazing so far. I love his energy. I love everything about what Dan Campbell represents. I think he really wants to bring a new, flavor, basically a new energy to Detroit, and I love it. I think everything he stands for is way more than what Matt Patricia did. And I love what Jared Goff is bringing. I think Jared Goff is going to be good. I know a lot of people were so upset because Stafford left. I know I've been hard on Stafford, in past episodes, but I really believe in Jared Goff. This is a guy who went to a Super Bowl in 2019. He only lost because he went up against the GOAT, but Jared Goff is only 26. I think there's a lot of room for potential, and this is a perfect opportunity to get him over the hump. And I really think the Lions have potential to get a wild card spot and shock some people. So I love the Sewell pick. I know I was hard on it at first, but I really think he's going to do what he needs to do to protect Jared Goff. And I really think, looking at the training camp in the Lions play the first preseason game tomorrow against the Bills is going to be very exciting. Detroit fans should be happy.
Yeah, Buffalo is tomorrow, our first true taste of what this team looks like on the field for this upcoming season. But I was fortunate enough to go to Allen Park actually this last Tuesday and watch this new Lions team. And I can tell you, practices seem pretty intense. And I'm not saying they're full on it's like a game type atmosphere. Everybody is buying in and is working their butts off in practice. And I think that's something that we haven't seen what previous teams do. And especially going into the preseason, this team, it just has a different fire under them. Just watching them at practice, these guys are looking to get in prime shape right now before the season even starts. They are looking to launch once that week 1 kickoff is underway, and it's been super exciting. And I can almost agree with you that originally, when we had that 7th pick, was I thinking Penei Sewell was going to be there? Absolutely not. So I really wasn't expecting the fact he was going to be there, and I think the fact we were all kind of banking on him going either 5 or 6, kind of once he got there and slipped to us, it was oh, well, I guess we're just taking the best player available, and we're not going to get some flashy receiver, which I think disappointed a lot of fans early on. But I think a lot of people are starting to realize how important of a pick that was, because he's really been a big part he's going to be a big part of this offensive line that's trending upward, now ranked top 10 in the NFL for, I think, good reason. As long as we can stay healthy, I think we're going to be in good shape. And, we've got a lot of great players around this team that can really turn some heads here this upcoming year.
Oh, yeah, definitely, Brandon. You make all great points. That's really cool. I did see your Snapchat story of you at Allen Park. I thought that was amazing. Also, I want to give a shout out to my good friend Chelsea Estes from the Royal Oak Leprechauns, another in-game host for us. She's also doing hosting for the Lions preseason at Allen Park, and that was very cool. I saw her coverage of the team, DeAndre Swift and different guys like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. But I do think the Lions have potential. The years where you don't have expectations are the years where you can really shock people because you don't have anything to lose. A lot of people are already expecting you to not do anything, so when you do something, you kind of turn some heads. And I really think Goff is going to do it. I think we got the guys around him. I think Swift is going to be even better. Sewell. And we still got, guys right there in, the wide receivers core. And I still love TJ Hawkinson. I think he's been one of the best tight ends that we've had, honestly, in a while. So the Lions, really with just the Packers being obviously by far the best team with Aaron Rodgers back, I still think this division is up for grabs. Justin Fields, he's a great quarterback, was amazing at Ohio State. We still got to see what he's going to do in the NFL. Now, obviously, the Vikings and Kirk Cousins are pretty unpredictable. They're a team that can be 8-8 or 12-4, so you really never know what you're going to get from them. So I really think the Lions can. I'm going to put it this way. The second spot is a possibility. The first spot, I definitely think the Packers are the best team. That's why I give us a chance at the wild card, especially, as you know, Brandon, they added extra games. So it's a 17-game season, 18 weeks of the NFL. So I'm very excited for this Lions season. These 3 preseason games are going to kind of give us a tell of what's going to happen. Obviously, the preseason games are kind of a tell of guys who are trying to play and different things like that, or drafted or undrafted guys trying to get a chance in the NFL. But I'm very excited. And Brandon, we got football back. This is amazing.
Football is back, baby. And I can't tell you how excited I was just being able to literally sit on literally being able to sit on steel bleachers, being 40 yards away from a practice field, just watching guys, how much excitement that brought. And I mean, eventually towards the end of practice, people started gathering more towards near the field on the railings, and it was super fun to see them go at it live for the last couple minutes. But it's just football is back, and I can completely agree with this team has they have nothing to lose. And I think that's the biggest part of this is we don't have expectations. We're not the Packers. We're not expected to run the table. I say those words with agony, but we're not expected to win the division. We're not even expected to win more than 5 games to some people. And that is super, super low bar set. And there's no reason we can't go over it. And especially with a lot of these young guys on the team. And there's been some guys that have really stuck out to me, I was not prepared to see at camp being flourishing as well as they were. And I mean, we got obviously a bunch of key additions in the offseason, Jamal Williams being one of them. I think him with Swift is going to bring another element to this running game, especially with Deuce Staley at the helm coaching those guys. He's phenomenal at what he does. And I mean, Hawkinson, of course, is in year 2, and that's pretty much the ceiling through the roof for him. And I mean, this receiving core, I think, is one place that I think we were all expecting to be a little damp, you could say. Not necessarily a super hot, fiery, on paper, looking like we could make a huge playoff run based on this passing attack like some other teams can now, like Tennessee, for example, Tampa Bay, those teams, of course. But we got some pretty talented guys that can catch the football for us. I mean, Tyrell Williams is a lot bigger in person than I remember correctly, but he's a huge target for Jared Goff, and I know they got some LA chemistry already set together. Amon-Ra St. Brown is looking like a first, second-round draft pick in camp. He's been fantastic, and he's been chippy, too. He's been getting after guys. I mean, he got at it with Melifonwu, I believe, 1 week ago. That started the whole questioning how intense camp should be under Dan Campbell. And then apparently on Tuesday got in a little bit with Jeff Okudah when they were doing one-on-ones, and it was pretty interesting. But he's been a dog on this team. And one name I think is going to be one that I'm going to be looking for a lot this upcoming year is Khalif Raymond. He was one guy I was not looking at as far as this depth chart. I was looking at Tyrell Williams. I was looking at Cephas kind of sprinkling in there with Brashad Perriman. And then obviously St. Brown was going to be a stud. But Khalif Raymond, we got pretty much off the waiver wire from Tennessee last year. I should say after this last year. He looks really quick. He's got quick feet. He is very shifty. And the fact that he's going to be probably returning for us is a super plus because, I mean, losing Jamal Agnew was a huge loss. But getting a guy like him, he's super speedy, super elusive, And just watching him in camp, I was just like, wow, I can't believe I over missed this guy. Like he's a good football player, and he was taking some of those team one reps. So don't be surprised if he's sprinkled in there as far as some of these preseason games with Goff and Swift and those guys in first team, because that could be really interesting. And of course, this young defense, if they can get it together with some of these veterans like Michael Brockers and Trey Flowers and Jamie Collins, this team could well over exceed expectations this year.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I'm very excited for the season. Just not to only see the Lions, as you know, Brandon, I'm a big Tom Brady fan.
Of course.
See if the Buccaneers can. I'm sorry, I just had to sneak that in there.
You had to do it. You had to do it. Hey, Michigan fans, I can dig it a little bit,
And the Buccaneers are the first team in NFL history to return all 22 offensive starters to the reigning Super Bowl champion team. So I think the likelihood of them repeating are very likely. Obviously, my initial pick is obviously I want the Detroit Lions to go as far as possible. But I'm very interested to see what the Buccaneers do. The Packers, and honestly, don't forget our homeboy Matt Stafford. Stafford, this is the most weapons he's had in a while, so I think the Rams can be another team. But to go back with the Lions, I think this is a window of opportunity and to prove some people wrong. And the thing with the Lions can do is the more we win and prove the narrative wrong for these other people, we can get guys to want to come here and different things like that, etc. Because the more we win, we can change the culture of the Detroit Lions. Obviously, Lions have only won an NFL championship, and that was 1957. That was way before our time. So
before the Super Bowl era.
Yeah, before the Super Bowl era. Thank you, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
I really think this is an opportunity. Yeah, just to shock some people, and I think it's going to be a new energy with the fans back. Last year, obviously, there was no fans at the games due to COVID, but with the pandemic slowing down and starting to get back to normal, like we just saw in the NBA Finals, the Bucks had 15,000 fans throughout that 6-game series when they won over the Suns. So I really think, with things getting back to normal, the fans do have an impact on games, whether people want to believe that or not. The booing, stuff like that. So I love when they cheer us on. I think it's going to be great that they're having fans back, and I think that's really going to help the Lions. And I'm very excited for the season. I think Jared Goff has a point to prove. I think he is so underrated and not appreciated. The Rams in the 2018-19 season when they made the Super Bowl but lost to the Patriots, they had one of the top 15 offenses in the history of the NFL record-wise from points, yards per game. So that is, and Jared Goff was one of the main reasons for that. He was a quarterback. So I think he has a chance to prove a lot of people wrong this year.
Yeah, Jared Goff has a chip on his shoulder, and he's let people know that. And I think that's going to fuel the fire as well. Being shut out compared to Matthew Stafford, subpar replacement, gonna light a fire. And especially with the guys around him. I mean, Brad Holmes has shown already making the trade early on for reportedly less value compared to some other offers that they had in the offseason for Matthew Stafford, one of them being from Carolina, I believe, if I remember correctly. That would have landed us another top 10 pick. But the idea around them making the trade early on with the Rams, I think really comes down to the confidence level that Holmes has with Goff and how much Dan Campbell and that offensive coach room believes in Jared Goff. And I think that's going to be something interesting to look forward to this season, as for sure. But another quarterback here in the NFL, Travis, that I know we're going to be looking at a little bit, that is, of course, if he decides to step on the field in the regular season, is Deshaun Watson. And let's just say right now, after a video, I believe it was for practice this morning, really sums it up. He was walking out to practice on the practice field, walking across, and the media were lined up taking their pictures and their video as they do with all the other players. But for Deshaun Watson, I think it hits a little differently being the star quarterback under a little bit of fire with the organization. And he let the media know it, saying that same stuff every day with obviously a little more colorful language than I like to put on air. But yeah, Deshaun Watson's still not happy. And I don't know how long his future is going to be in Houston, Travis. What are your thoughts?
I really think Deshaun is really kind of in a rock and a hard place. I think it's just very hard to know. I think when he obviously made the initial request for trade, Brandon, we know all the sexual allegations came out. I believe 22 to 25 women or something like that, et cetera, said, he assaulted them. Then a lot of teams shifted away from Deshaun Watson, and they weren't interested. So I'm not sure if all those stories are true about him being a predator, but it's ironic that he asks for a trade and that happens. Then, then it's like, now the talk is he even going to play this year? Deshaun, obviously, talent-wise, is one of the top 10 quarterbacks in this league. He's gotten the Texans to the playoffs and has one playoff game. So Deshaun is obviously one of the best quarterbacks in this league, especially best running quarterbacks in this league, probably top 5 in that category. But I really don't expect too much from him. I think the fact that he's flowing under the radar and the Texans don't really have a lot. Obviously, we look at, Fuller and, a few other guys, but they lost DeAndre Hopkins. That's arguably probably the best wide receiver in the entire National Football League. So I just don't see the Texans doing a lot. They're more of, to me, their maximum potential is 10-6 or at best 11-5. So I really think they're more of a wild card team and maybe winning the division. But I do think Deshaun's going to put up numbers. Like, he's great for fantasy. I've been a fantasy owner of him for some time, so it's been great to see him do that. But I really don't expect too much from him. But also on the flip side of things, Deshaun could have a breakout. This is also a window of opportunity for him to prove the doubters wrong, show him he can go out there and play, and also that could bring his trade stock back up. So if Deshaun has a phenomenal season and still wants out, there's obviously going to be teams that want him. I think a lot of teams shifted away from Deshaun because of the allegations, but since a lot of things slowed down and he hasn't been convicted of anything, teams could express more interest down the line depending on how he plays, and hopefully he stays out of trouble. But Deshaun, I think, is a very talented QB. I think he's definitely a top 10, at worst top 15 QB in this league. But as a team, the Texans aren't very talented. They have one of the worst defenses in the league. And obviously, wide receiver core, they have about one guy in Fuller. To me, that really stands out outside of everybody. So I expect them to maybe make the wild card. I think 10-6, maybe 11-5.
Okay, Travis, not going to lie. I think we see differently on this Texans team. I don't see them winning more than 7 games, if that. I think that's my highest ceiling I could possibly put them at right now. And I think it's just all the way around. There's lack of talent on this roster. And I think the biggest thing with Deshaun is I think if we have that team in the past, and these, like, if, for example, these allegations come up, once again, I'm gonna be the same with you. I'm not gonna say whether I believe they're true or false or whatever, because obviously we haven't heard the true facts on the situation. Excuse me, can't even talk so fast. But the reality of it is, if we look at the teams of the past that Deshaun was a part of, we'll throw it back 3 years ago. They still have J.J. Watt. They still have DeAndre Hopkins. They have Will Fuller. They have this dynamic offense that led them to a wild card berth. I don't know if he would necessarily be as considerate for a trade request at that time. And I think the biggest part is with all this coming out with this team that he has right here, that it's the full green light. And I think with everything that's gone out, the change in ownership, I think that does have a part to do with it. And I think they believe that they want to start from scratch their own way, and that might be without Deshaun or with a different team than Deshaun wants. And I mean, the reality is it's really unfortunate to me to see this, because Deshaun Watson is one of the best players that we've seen in college history and is one of the better young quarterbacks that we've seen as far as in pro history. I guess you could say more early pro history, but the fact is he was, what you just mentioned, one of the best fantasy quarterbacks that you could have drafted in the last 3 years, because the guy can do on it with his legs and with his arm, and he can show up in big games. The craziest thing is Deshaun Watson has won 28 games, but has lost 25. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact he was with Houston, and especially the team last year that went 4-12, that pretty much disintegrated the franchise to pretty much nothing. And the reality, we're going to see Deshaun Watson, a guy that has pretty much one of the better upscale ceilings of these NBA or of these NFL quarterbacks. And the reality is we might not see him play. And if he is going to play, he's not going to be the 3-time Pro Bowler that we see on paper. He's going to be a guy that's disgruntled and not happy with his franchise and might not give it all every game. And it's a shame that we have to see that. And I mean, in reality, like, I don't know what the best situation is for him. I know Philadelphia has made offers to him as far as trying to get him, which kind of makes it a little bit that situation is going to be a little confusing, I think, with Nick Sirianni, what he's doing, especially the comments he made about Jalen Hurts
Right.
possibly not being the starting quarterback, even though he didn't say that. That's kind of what he was implying, because I think that's garbage. I don't think that you make those comments, especially with Jalen going with Jalen and not drafting another quarterback. It all doesn't. What Nick Sirianni's doing is not adding up with what he's saying, and I think that's going to eat him up. I know Stephen A. Smith made a huge deal about this with the Philadelphia media, and you can check that out on First Take if you want to. But at the end of the day, does Deshaun Watson play somewhere else, and where should he go?
I think if he does, it's going to be after this season. I don't think no one's going to make a move for him right now. I just think with still everything going on, and like you made a good point, they went 4-12 last year. I'm giving them a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, like going 10-6, potentially 11-5. But I think the team I really kind of wanted to see Deshaun go to was actually the New York Jets. I feel like the Jets, he could have really changed that franchise around. Obviously, they drafted a quarterback, in this past NFL draft back in April, which they obviously did the right thing because Sam Darnold shouldn't be in the NFL. If you want to hear my rants, check out past episodes. But, I think Deshaun, I think he should have went there. But I do think he's going to find a new home. And I will say this, since the Jets did draft a quarterback, I really believe if things go as they will, I think he's going to have a good season. Texans are still going to be bad because the team around him is not good. And he could end up in Oakland and play for, Las Vegas now and play for the Raiders. I really think that would be an interesting fit with the weapons that they got. I think Derek Carr's not really that guy. And, I mean, they wear the same number, number 4. I just think Deshaun's a better number 4, especially at this point in his career. Because Deshaun is only 25, so I think he's still marketable. I even wanted him to come to Detroit for a second, but obviously that was never going to happen. But I do think he's going to play this season, to answer your question, Brandon, here. And I think he's going to end up in Las Vegas on the Raiders in 2022.
Yeah, I think the reality of the deal is not done, I think kind of does seal that fact of that he's probably going to. But, I mean, hey, you never know. I mean, we do have the trade deadline, so that is possible. But, yeah, I think both of those options that you laid out with the Raiders and the Jets, I think are legitimate options. One that was crossing my mind, I think especially was, I think Denver would have been a great option for him. And I think with that defense, as long as it got healthy, please, if that defense can get healthy with Vic Fangio, they can do some great things. But just getting everybody on the field is the hardest part. And that offense is really trending upward. I mean, they've gotten a lot of great pass catchers in these past couple of drafts. They got KJ Hamler, who's healthy this year, Jerry Jeudy. Tim Patrick was a little bit of an underrated flyer last year. He really picked it up. I know personally he came in clutch in one of my keeper leagues that I needed a couple injury pickups, Antonio Brown. But no, I'm just kidding. But the reality was like that team was trending upward, and I mean their offense has done great. It's just hard for them to succeed when they got some guys that just have some inaccuracies throwing the football, like Drew Lock. And I think that Drew Lock he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's great. I would put him probably about average, but the dude has a lot of arm strength, but he just had struggles with the accuracy. And he showed some spurts this year, which I think kind of saved him a little bit from not being cut or traded this last year. But at the end of the day, I think Denver is also a good spot. But I think that there's plenty to go around as far as options for Deshaun Watson. And we'll have to find out where he will go and eventually what this season or preseason will be like. But Travis, what are some teams that you have watching on your radar for this preseason here finishing out the NFL?
That's a great question, Brandon. A few teams, actually. I'm interested to see what the Packers do. I know Aaron Rodgers, obviously, he's committed just for this season. The expectations he's going to leave in 2022. I'm interested to see, with them bringing back Randall Cobb, I think was a great pickup. I think that's going to help them get over the edge and potentially make a Super Bowl run because Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb's connection is insane. As you know, in previous Maddens, I'm a huge Madden guy, so I think that is going to be fun to see. And I think just with the guys that they've drafted, I'm interested to see how better the defense is going to be with the Packers, and offensively, too, with the running game. I think those are two big things for them to kind of push them over the edge, because we know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do as the reigning league MVP, and also most importantly, I really want to see what Jordan Love's going to do. With him probably going to get most of the snaps in these preseason games, I think Jordan Love has a chance to kind of show what the future is going to look like for the Packers. Because obviously, even if Aaron Rodgers were to stay beyond the season, he's not staying another 10 years, at most maybe 3 to 4. So making sure Jordan Love is ready is key. And also, Brandon, I'm really excited to see the Tennessee Titans. This is a team who's had a potential. Obviously, they made the AFC Championship game in the 2019 season, but last year they obviously fell short to the Baltimore Ravens. But I'm interested to see if Derrick Henry's going to get some snaps and see what Ryan Tannehill's going to do, because they have a great defense. They, to me, still have the best running back in the league in Derrick Henry. What is Ryan Tannehill going to do? This is a team on the watch, because you still got the Bills, you got the Ravens, and the Chiefs, 3 of the top best teams in the entire AFC. And obviously the Tennessee Titans are right up there with them. So what can the Tennessee do to kind of get over the edge? So that's another team. And my third team is the Cleveland Browns. I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan. I know he's not going to play that much in the preseason, but I loved what I saw from him last year compared to the season that he had in 2019. The 2020 season was amazing. Getting a playoff win for Cleveland, the first playoff win in a long time, beating the Steelers pretty bad. I think Cleveland is a team you need to look out for. They almost beat the Chiefs, Brandon. They almost pulled off the upset. I know almost isn't a victory, but they competed and show that they're going to be here for a while. I think Baker, I love his mentality. His media interview about a week ago, he was saying, I don't care about Josh Allen's recent contract. That was actually worth $258 million. That's the most money that Brady has made through his first 21 seasons, which is insane, the salary cap these guys are getting. But he's saying, I don't even care about the contract extensions for these guys. I care about winning. And I think, with Nick Chubb back and obviously Kareem Hunt going to get some snaps, and Odell back, obviously after having that ACL injury, the Browns are a team to watch for. This is a team, to me, that can win 12, 13 games. I really believe Baker Mayfield is elite. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and he's going to take another jump. So those are the 3 teams I have on my watch for this season.
Yeah, those are all great. I think those are all teams that you could certainly make an argument to watch out for. One that I certainly have circled on my radar is San Francisco. I think is one team that I'm really going to be glued to watching to see how this team reacts, because, every year it just seems like this team, injuries. That's the only thing we can talk about, because that just derails their potentials halfway through the year. And that defense is elite when healthy, and I think people forget about that. And obviously you got the future of Trey Lance. How is that going to play out with Jimmy Garoppolo? Is there going to be a situation that Lance plays this year? I truly believe that there will be, because we know Jimmy Garoppolo does not play 16 games in a season, which would be 17 this year, very often. That makes it even a lower percent chance. So the fact we might see Trey Lance this year is certainly a good possibility, and that running back room is going to be loaded once again, because they are bringing a lot of the same guys back. Mostert is going to be probably leading the charge. And don't forget about Trey Sermon, who they just drafted recently in this past year's draft. So he's going to probably try to sneak up the boards. And then you obviously got all their receivers that you could go around with Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and all those guys that are going to be competing for the top. And there's going to be obviously some guys that we've never heard of that are going to be catching passes from them next year, because that's just the way Kyle Shanahan rolls. And then obviously you got the big man George Kittle that is going to make that team interesting. And especially now with this NFC West getting even more tighter, with the Cardinals making moves, the Rams obviously making a blockbuster trade for Stafford, and the Seahawks being the Seahawks. This division's going to be loaded once again, so that's going to be one team I'm going to watch. The Giants, I think, are going to be one team that I'm going to be kind of peeking in on. I'm not expecting them to knock the socks off of all these other teams and blow everyone's minds, but I think realistically a division title is within their grasp if they want it, because Cowboys have been a little inconsistent. The Eagles are being the Eagles, and the Washington football team that will have their name changed next year. I'm excited to see what they change it to. Oh, yeah. But they've been working through some things offensively with Ryan Fitzpatrick now at quarterback, so there's a lot of room and possibilities for them. And with that passing attack, they got weapons going everywhere, and they have one guy they haven't even probably put on the field yet, Kadarius Toney, who I thought would have been one of the best sneaky receiver picks in this year's draft. So I think that's going to be interesting. And the final team, I guess, if we're going in trios here, it's going to be Kansas City. I know, boring, the best team, of course, whatever, or second best team, part of how you feel about it. But how this team has changed and reacted to the last year's Super Bowl loss, makes it seem to me like they're hungry for revenge, and they're not going to let anybody get in their way. Going back to that title game, not having 2 starting linemen lost them the Super Bowl. And I hate to put it on them, but I don't really know what else you can put it around. Having Patrick Mahomes running wild for 60 minutes doesn't help you win the football game. And that's really the way that Tampa Bay got him out of his comfort zone a little bit, and he still almost made plays. But the fact is, getting Orlando Brown, Joe Thuney, those guys to lock up the line, making changes defensively, getting in a bunch of new guys, and filling all those roles. And, of course, they're going to have weapons because they're the Chiefs. That just makes them even more exciting to watch as a team to be the champs potentially against the Bucs. But at the end of the day, we'll find out because there'll always be sleeper teams. But before we move into NBA, don't forget to check out the Fire Pit on whatever podcast platform you are on for the Ferris State Torch newspaper. News, politics, entertainment, sports, and more available on your favorite podcast app. But moving into NBA, of course, with Travis here, we got to talk about Motown and Cade Cunningham and the Pistons starting off their summer league. Okay, it's 0-2, but it's the summer league, guys. Okay, record doesn't mean that much. But what have you liked seeing from this new Motor City Mayhem team, Mr. Travis?
Brandon, thank you for that amazing introduction. I love it. Obviously, basketball is my favorite sport, as everyone knows. And we had the number 1 pick. The first time since 1970, Cade Cunningham is going to be a special talent. I believe he's the guy who's going to change this franchise around. He's already changing the culture of Detroit, and he wanted to be here. He put on the Bucks during the draft. That's how I knew. I was like, this guy is a true Detroiter. I love everything about him. His highlights at Oklahoma State speak for himself. He's been playing very good to me in the summer league. A little bit slow shooting start, but the move he put on Jalen Green, the behind the back for the 3 the other day, amazing on the number 2 draft pick in the NBA draft. I think Cade is going to be good. I love what we have around him. Sadiq Bey was amazing. Isaiah Stewart, and I believe Killian Hayes is going to have a better sophomore season than what he had this past season. So I still love what we got. I'm not sold on Sekou. I don't think Sekou is very good as advertised, but we also got Jeremy Grant, who was an all-star, 24 points per game last season. So I believe in our team. With Cade being 19, I believe in about 2 years we will make the playoffs because I think Cade's that good. To be a 6'8" point guard that can shoot, be a playmaker, and play defense, that's exactly what we need. We haven't had a true guy that can take over games since Chauncey Billups. I know we had Blake Griffin, and he had that great 2018-2019 season, averaging 25 a game. But a guy who was literally one of the best in his position, that was Chauncey Billups. So I really believe Cade's going to take over. This entire draft was amazing, but I'm happy that I can say and go to sleep at night knowing the Pistons finally made a right draft pick. It was no Darko Milicic. It was not us drafting over, passing by Kawhi Leonard, Devin Booker, and all these other great players that we passed. We got the right guy. We got Cade Cunningham. He wanted to be here. And I was also at the Detroit Tigers game when they played the Tigers. Cade was also at that game, too. Barstool Detroit got that. So that was very cool. But I love what I'm seeing from them. Wins or losses in the summer league, like you said, Brandon, don't matter. I just want to see the growth and the progression. I think Cade's doing everything asked of him, and he's putting up, that basically that winner's mentality. When he got drafted that night, he went to the gym in his Detroit uniform and started taking shots. I love his mentality. He's trying to win and do everything he can to win. I believe him and Killian Hayes are going to coexist, with one of them being the one and the other being the 2. So I love what I'm saying. We already, with Sadiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart, I think we have a roster in the future is going to be amazing.
Yeah, the future is bright. I'd agree with that. And just the fact that we get to see this built team with all these young guys potentially on the floor together makes me super excited. And I think there's a lot of people that, after the first couple games, and especially the showdown with Jalen Green against Houston, I mean, obviously after that scenario, there were people like, well, was Jalen Green supposed to be the number 1? And, I mean, you can make that argument right now. I don't think you can make that argument after the season Oklahoma State had, and especially what they did. I think that you could have surefire known that Cade was going to be number 1 wherever they go. And don't forget, Houston was also trying to make a trade at one point for Cade Cunningham. Just throwing that out there. So don't throw the shade too much at Cade. But I will say this about Cade. I think, his leadership that we've seen already from day one has been fantastic. I know there's been some videos of him mic'd up on the bench and helping out teammates, and he's turning into a true leader, which I'm truly like excited about, because I think we have all the young crew, we just don't have that guy leading the charge, and the fact Cade is already stepping in and kind of trying to be that guy definitely means a lot to the city. I think that there's one thing that I'm a little questionable about with Cade is, like, we're just talking about him being the leader. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to be the full hero. And I think that's what he's kind of trying to pull a little bit so far in the summer league, because there's been times where he's been a little too aggressive, would be the word that I would use for it, just because he wants to be that guy that bring us to the promised land, but you don't have to do it by yourself, big fella. You can give it up. We got some guys that can help bring you there. And I mean this, like, being looking at the stat sheet, being 6 of 17, like, yeah, that's great, we're getting points, but we also want to be efficient as well, because that makes everybody else better. And we got those guys you just mentioned, Travis, Isaiah, Sadiq, we got all those guys. And I mean, we're going to have more guys coming in, like later, like Kelly Olynyk and Corey Joseph, of course, that are going to be in there as well. And we're going to have a lot of those pieces. And I think if we can build that camaraderie and strength like that 2004 team was like, that we're, of course, going to be trying to compare to, because that's obviously the team we want to get there and become. And I think that's one thing that I've noticed so far. Obviously, it's just been 2 games, so obviously we're going to see the things change by the time the regular season starts in 3 months from now. So I think this team is on the right path, though, and I'm really, really excited of what Troy Weaver has in store next.
Yes, he's done an amazing job, and getting Cade and the different moves he's done in free agency is definitely going to help us get to where we want to be. I love Troy Weaver. I'm so happy we got this draft right. And I do think Cade has been taking on a little bit of superhero role. But Cade, it's a lot of expectations. When you're number 1 draft pick, a lot of people expect you to come in and change the whole dynamic of how the city was. So it is a lot of pressure on him, but it's also a lot of opportunity. Cade can prove the doubters wrong for the people who thinks he can't do it, and the people who thinks he can just keep proving them right, speak into existence like LeVar Ball does. So I think it's a great opportunity.
Of course, you had to bring up LeVar Ball.
Yeah, I love it. I saw him at Summer League the other day supporting LiAngelo with him getting another opportunity. So I thought that was cool. LeVar's an amazing father. Shout out to LeVar. But I think, with Cade, it's just a great opportunity. And now, with the season going to start, obviously, the fall, I'm very, very excited. I expect Cade to at least get over 15 points per game and just be a leader, on and off the court, and set an example. Even as a young guy, I think Jeremy Grant can kind of take him under his wing. Jeremy Grant's not like a superstar in this league. He's still a very good player and has been our best player for some time. So I'm very excited for Detroit, and I think it's a great time to be a Detroit sports fan. I know it's been a while since we used that expression, but it really is, because a lot of rebuilding is going on. The Tigers are playing better. The Lions, obviously, are still in rebuilding. The Red Wings are getting better. And the Pistons, we got the number 1 draft pick, and we got the guy everybody wanted. So I'm very excited for Cade. I love the fact that he has an outside shot. He can create his own shot and catch and shoot. So Cade, I think, has a total package. He's going to be a great player. He kind of reminds me of a 6'8" Curry. Not as good as a shot as Curry, but can create and get to the basket, too.
Yeah, I think that the full package is one of the big reasons why he was the number one pick for sure. I think Jalen Green has the offensive, the offensive potential is pretty much. I can't even describe the level, because I mean his athleticism, his ability to shoot, his ability to fill the lane and run the offense, I think is definitely overtaken. But I think Cade definitely brings that element of he can do all those things, but he can also do it on the defensive end as well, because he has that ability to get steals, use great anticipation. Maybe not as great as Davion Mitchell, but still good enough to really lead this team. But I think it'll be really interesting to see how he kind of develops into his number 1 role, basically how the season goes on, and seeing if he can maybe turn it up and really light up the stat column that we've seen a lot of great point guards do in past for teams that necessarily haven't been star-studded powerhouses in a while, I should say, as far as these kind of super team era that we're kind of in now. Seeing some of those other teams that are a little bit lower down And they found one guy that can light it up and that can really take him far. And Cade could be that guy. And one of those guys that actually was that guy eventually was Isaiah Thomas back in 2017 with the Boston Celtics. If you remember that, Travis, 28 points per game on his run leading Boston to the playoffs. He was a stud. And the fact is, yeah, he was fantastic. And the fact that we be sitting here 4 or 5 years later and he's not with a team, absolutely crazy. And there's reports going around that the Lakers are interested in re-signing him, especially after he lit up just a casual 81 points in a Drew League game with the J crossover summer collab league. Is it time that Isaiah Thomas gets uniform back on in the NBA?
Yes, Brandon. Isaiah's been working his butt off. His video almost made me cry. After he got 81 points, he was kind of explaining how they gave up on him, the NBA. And I mean, Isaiah was on his way. He was fourth. This is a guy who was fourth in MVP voting in 2017. Averaged 28 points per game and was an all-star. The best year of his career. Sadly, his sister had that tragic accident where she passed away. Then he had the 53-point game, and Danny Ainge kind of lets him go. So we know there's no loyalty in this business with the NBA. But Isaiah deserves a chance. This man is one of the best little guys I've ever seen. He's only 5'9". So I think if he can get an opportunity where he can win, I think he's going to make the most of it. And obviously that trade hurt him. Boston also had interest in bringing him back. I just don't think Isaiah will go back to Boston and just how everything went down. But he's a guy with all the heart in the world. I love his passion for the game. I think Isaiah's passion and dedication allows him to consistency. You know, he can go out there and have a casual, like you said, 81 points in the Drew League and to get him back like in the groove of things. So I think Isaiah, he still has it because 4 years ago when he averaged 28 points was only 4 years ago. That's not that long ago. I think he's healthy. I think he's gotten his rest. And with this time off the NBA, he's got a chance to really take care of his body. As you know, he had that bad hip in his last season in the NBA. So I think this opportunity for him to kind of come back, show him I'm not still Isaiah Thomas. I'm not the Detroit Isaiah Thomas, but I'm still my own Isaiah Thomas my own way. So I think it's a great opportunity. And I really hope the best for Isaiah Thomas because he's a great guy, great family man too off the court. He deserves this opportunity. Someone who works that hard to keep their body healthy. And at that height, you know, he deserves all the opportunity in the world because he made it, you know, to the NBA. You know, the average height of these guys are like 6'6" or taller. So I really think Isaiah is going to be back in the NBA sooner than we think.
Yeah, I think that with this new wave a little bit of some guys coming back, I mean, especially like Carmelo with Portland, kind of seeing a little fountain of youth with some of these prime guys that we've seen flourish in their best years with some of their franchises. And I mean, just the fact like Isaiah was just kind of the way it ended, it was just too fast, it felt like. It was just kind of there and gone. It was almost like a Jeremy Lin timeline where it was just a 1 or 2 years and then boom, it just started spiraling down and where have we heard from him again? And it's just kind of crazy. And I think the comeback story will make this super awesome. And I know like we've seen him with the Lakers before, but I don't think that team was the same team. I mean, really, that him with that team was years before LeBron came back. It was years after Kobe had retired. That team wasn't really going anywhere. And the fact that he's now coming back with ability to play, not necessarily, he doesn't have to have that huge production. Like he doesn't have to worry about going out there and scoring 30 a night. He doesn't have to do that. He just has to be the guy that can bring them off the bench, bring that veteran aspect with all the guys around him, get that chemistry, and really provide a spark off the bench because the Lakers have their starting lineup figured out. Westbrook, LeBron, AD, Wayne Ellington, and then you can insert whichever guy you want to also put in there to pretty much kind of weigh down as far as you want to go. You want to go small or tall. You can insert anybody from in that spot. And, I mean, after that, now you're talking about bringing in Isaiah Thomas and, I mean, possibly with Carmelo if he's not in the starting lineup, those two together. I mean, that can be a really cool experiment. And the biggest thing I have with it is if it doesn't work, what goes wrong? there's no real risk here with bringing Isaiah Thomas back. And obviously the Lakers know if he's going to be good enough, and if they bring him in and he's good enough, they're going to sign him, because obviously that's what they've been doing with this team, is they believe that they can bypass the age number, and they can build this team with who they have and who they want to get. And if that's going to be a team that's average age is above 35, hey, if that wins a championship, we're not going to be talking about age necessarily as a category, and that it wouldn't work, because obviously it would. And maybe some other teams are going to say, you know what, like, we can still do it with some of these older guys, and that might change the game a little bit too. So I think if Isaiah is motivated, he can provide the sparks that we've seen so far from him this summer. I mean, he can definitely make a huge impact for this Lakers team. And even though if it doesn't end in necessarily what he's predicting, I think it's still going to be a fun experience to play with all these guys, because that could be a one in a lifetime team, especially if they run the table and go all the way.
Oh yeah, this team has 4 future Hall of Famers. You got Russell Westbrook, the all-time leader in triple doubles. LeBron, to me, still the second greatest player of all time behind Michael Jordan. Carmelo's had the best Olympic career in the history of Olympians, winning gold medals for U.S., and he's just one of the most pure scorers in the history of the NBA Hall of Famer. And Dwight Howard has 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards, and Orlando also won a championship, in 2020 with the Lakers. So I think it's going to be interesting. I do think the Lakers' downfall will be Russell Westbrook. I love his aggression, but I think that's also going to be his downfall too, because he's a ball-dominant point guard. His usage rate has been 4 of the top 5 in the last, obviously few years. So I think, I don't know how he's going to, de-infiltrate, basically kind of, coexist with him and LeBron. I think that's going to be interesting to see. But I do think, back to the Isaiah Thomas point, if he can, that could be another guy to give LeBron and AD nights off. So I think that's one of the main reasons why they got Russ and Carmelo, to kind of give like LeBron and AD, because there was a lot of injuries this past 72-game season. So I think going into this year, these guys are going to be healthy, but it's going to be fun to watch. So I think that Laker team, especially if they get Isaiah, that's going to be a great team. They can definitely use them off the bench. I do think one of the main reasons why they can use Isaiah is for shooting. I feel like they lost a lot of their shooting by giving away KCP, Kuzma and stuff like that, Alex Caruso, things of that nature. And Dennis Schroeder fumbling the bag. You decline a 4-year, $84 million deal from the Lakers, but accept a 1-year, $5.9 million deal from the Celtics? What?
That was a big oof.
I don't know who his agent is, but he needs to be fired. That was just a terrible business decision. The people you have in your corner, you need to let them go, because they're obviously guiding you in the wrong direction. But I'm very excited for Isaiah. And I think there was a few, big splashes that we had in free agency. Obviously, DeMar DeRozan going to Chicago and Kyle Lowry going to Miami. I thought those were 2 interesting moves that made the East even better. And now Kevin Durant re-signing with the Brooklyn Nets, and James Harden and Kyrie going to re-sign. I think it's going to be interesting. The East is going to be very, very competitive, so I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, and like some of those teams that you just mentioned are going to be teams to watch moving forward. And I think that with, Brooklyn, we're obviously going to be paying attention to, because they're considered the title favorites at the moment, the Lakers being pretty much close second, which is kind of crazy because Milwaukee Bucks won last year. Shouldn't they be the favorite? I don't know, but that's just how the allure of how the media takes it, especially with these superstar-studded teams. It's hard to put the Bucks over some of those 2 teams with the firepower. But at the end of the day, like it never ends up like it should on paper, and it probably won't be the same this year as well. So, the reality is there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be trying to really change up how they're going about. And I think one team that we can definitely keep our eye on is maybe more or less team as much as player is Philadelphia and Ben Simmons in that situation. And I'm not saying that Philly's going to be Eastern Conference Finals playoff bound. They certainly have the talent to do so, but with the Ben Simmons situation, like I don't see where they really need to make an entire move and dish him away, when in reality they have the ability to kind of corral him in and just give him a jump shot, because like that's really all he's missing. And the fact is, a lot of these teams, that's the only reason they're not taking him. So I guess I just don't know why like, if you have the potential for him, he has the chemistry already. Like, why you dump him there already? I mean, I understand the memes. Like, don't worry, I see them on my timeline every week. I know he can't shoot the basketball. But the reality, like, the fact that they're kind of dumping him off to and trying to get rid of him to another team kind of just makes me seem like that there's might be something wrong, like, farther than that, because we have good shooting coaches. I mean, shoot, give him the lethal shooter from Instagram and let him try to develop Ben Simmons. I mean, that would be an awesome collaboration. But I just don't know exactly what they need to do, because I mean, the load that they're asking for Ben Simmons is absolutely ridiculous, and nobody should ever even think about taking that. And I just don't know what they're trying to do, as far as, like, they just seem so indecisive that they're just like, yeah, let's just try to get a good haul and get rid of him, and let's try to rebuild around it. Because I mean, Ben Simmons is a good player that has a lot of potential, but it just, I don't know if it's him not willing to learn those fundamentals, or the coaches are just not willing to teach him. I don't know what that situation is, and it just makes it seem even more like it just looks even more murky, the fact that now they're trying to trade him away. And I just really don't know what that's going to entail, because there's going to be teams like Boston that, or some of these other teams that are rebranding their teams around dominant shooters that might make Philadelphia look a little bit less intimidating now, because they're going to have a great defensive side of the basketball, but offensively, it's starting to get a little less strong. And I think that's going to have to be changed if they really want to be a legitimate title contender.
And Brandon, you hit on all the right points. He's going to have to be modest. There is very bad. Ben Simmons, I mean this with all the respect in the world, even though it's going to come out wrong. If Ben Simmons was my height, he would literally be a manager at McDonald's. And no disrespect to anyone who works at McDonald's, but Ben Simmons is just so bad at basketball. He's literally just tall and can dunk, and that's it. Like, how can you not shoot? You get paid to play basketball for 2.5 hours a day, and you can't hit a three? Especially in this modern era of NBA where you got guys like Steph and Clay who change the game of basketball. They inspired guys like Trae Young and other guys to, just work on shooting and beat you by threes. So, Vince, I just don't understand how he's just such an offensive liability. During the playoff series against the Hawks, he literally averaged under 7 points a game. I just do not understand it. Ben needs to work on his jump shot, or at least get a mid-range if you don't want a three. Something to make one, people want to guard you, and two, develop confidence in yourself that I can't hit the shot. Because Ben Simmons, right now, it's all bad. He cut off communication with the Sixers, but he is open to joining the Golden State Warriors. I don't really like that move, because I like Draymond and Stephen Clay, because Draymond sets him up perfect. And Ben Simmons, he's just literally there for passing and, I guess, on-ball defense.
Yeah, I also was going to bring that up. That is not a good – I don't think that's a good move for Golden State either, because, like, they have all – I think that with the draft that they had and the guys they brought in, there's no reason that they need Ben Simmons, because, I mean, Steph can distribute, Clay can distribute, Draymond Green, I think, is the guy that you can truly have more confidence in playing the point and, frankly, shooting the basketball. Oh my gosh, I just said that. I can't believe it. But Draymond, you might have more confidence in Draymond than Ben Simmons. I mean, it's gotten to that point. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just that's rough. But I think that there's really not that. I don't think there's this great potential there for him. I think that it just be a shell of what he is, because I know he's gonna have to get rid of production, and I don't know if he really wants that. But I mean, if he wants to revitalize a team like Sacramento, I mean, he can go all for it. But I mean, they got enough point guards right there in that backcourt to go around. I know they're the only, one of the only other teams that have offered him anything. But it's just a rough road for Ben Simmons. But there's going to be a lot of teams that I'm sure we're going to be watching out for to see what they do and what that will change. Because there's going to be teams that are going to still offer for Ben Simmons. And when that offer changes, we're going to see teams change a lot. But before Major League Baseball, of course, go check out the Most Valuable Sports Podcast, if not already. If you found us on Spotify or Apple and you're listening to the show right now, thank you. And don't forget to hit the follow button to make sure you don't miss out on any episodes going forward, especially when school starts, because you're not going to want to miss that content, because it is going to be fire. Fire emoji inserted here.
Well, I'll be, and Brandon, before I let you continue, I'll be back in the studio. It is a blessing how things work out. I'm very excited to be back in the studio, with you, Joanna, Bear. I think it's going to be very fun, and it's just going to be like old times, our snake drafts and things of that nature.
Absolutely. And don't forget, if you haven't followed Mikes and Takes and MVSP on Instagram, Twitter, or whatever social media platform you're on, please do so, because you're not going to want to miss up on some of the major announcements coming down very soon. And if you like fantasy football, yeah, you might want to turn your notifications on. That's all I'm going to say about that. But make sure you're following so you don't miss out. But in MLB we go to finish out the show here with our Call to Your Shot, of course. Field of Dreams is reality. I think this is absolutely awesome. We're seeing our first game tonight from the Iowa cornfield, and it looks awesome. They brought Kevin Costner there, who played the role of Ray in the movie. I think that was absolutely phenomenal, and it looks awesome. I think it's really cool. I know there's some fans that are, of course, complaining about the teams that are playing. But yeah, we get it. That's the old-fashioned teams, and that's the way it's been. But super fun, and I think this is a really cool idea, and I think it should be. I think they should keep it going forward. It's been one game, but I'm on the train. I'm jumping on the bandwagon of Field Dreams being an annual thing. What do you think, Travis?
Brandon, I got 1,000% agree with you, and I love the fact it was the Yankees and White Sox. I have to give a shout out to my boy DJ LeMahieu, who's our donor for the Royal Oak Leprechauns and was a part of our second ever video on the YouTube channel that we shot earlier back in, I believe it was April. In May. Mm-hmm. So shout out to DJ LeMahieu, and he got a base hit tonight. I think the Field of Dreams thing, I think it's great for baseball, and to get fans more excited, more energetic. With different, with the world opening back up, with the pandemic slowing down, with more people vaccinated, there's an opportunity to try different things to bring a bigger fan base. So I think the Field of Dreams and bringing Kevin Costner, like you're saying, is a tremendous idea. So I think this was great, and to have two of the most storied franchises in baseball, I think it's a very cool thing, and I think it's very exciting to watch. Obviously, I wish our Tigers could be in it. But I just think that was very cool. And also shout out to Miguel Cabrera, 499. He is one away from 500 career home runs. True legend. I really hope he gets 500 at home. I just have to point that out.
Oh, I absolutely agree. We could transition to Tigers right now, because I want to say this. Miguel Cabrera, if you're listening right now, I doubt he is, and he doesn't know who I am, but that's not the point. Save your 500th home run until Saturday night's game, because I'm going on Saturday, and I went into left field to get bleacher tickets, and I'm going to try to catch that 500th home run. I'm going to try, and I hope it is 500 feet if it goes out of the stadium, because that'd be even more awesome. But the fact is, I think it's super great for Detroit, and we've been overperforming, I guess, is the word that comes to mind. I don't want to say it like that, like we're supposed to be bad, but that's what everybody said. And we're still playing good baseball. And we are only 4 games off of 500, folks. 4 games. We're second in the division.
We just won today, 6-4, so now we're only 3.
Oh, is that updated too? I don't know if that... I've already lost count. But...
no, you're fine. Miguel didn't play today, but we did win 6-4, so now we're only 3 games under 500. So Brandon, I'm so happy. We beat the Orioles earlier today, 6-4. It's just, I love us proving everybody wrong. I love what Casey Mize is doing, Jonathan Scope, Miguel Cabrera. I can't wait for Spencer Torkelson to come back and play with us next year. Bad Dude has been my favorite guy the entire season. He is an animal. Bad Dude, you are amazing. I love you. Even though you're not listening to us, I love you. But so I love the potential we have. And like you said, we were supposed to be bad. I went to a game. We won 14-0 over the Texas Rangers. That's a football score. That's 2 touchdowns. So I think the growth has been amazing. This is a team that was 8-30. We were about 15 games under 500. I know that for certain. Now we're about 3 or 4 games, close to getting over the hump of over 500. So I love what they're doing. And Miguel Cabrera, please get your 500th home run on Saturday night so my boy Brandon can get the ball.
I'll be waiting for it. I will lay out on the bleacher seats if that's what it takes, because I've been a Cabrera fan. I can't even remember how long. I have his poster on the wall that you guys can't see on my backdrop, but I wish I could show it to you. But no, it's been super great. And this Tigers team has looked so much, and I think a lot of people are wondering, why does this team look, or how is this team so different? Because we've lost a lot of more big name guys, and it's just been a lot of younger guys. And really, what's been the difference? And I think it is AJ Hinch. And I don't think necessarily just bringing AJ Hinch changed it. It's how this team has changed around with AJ Hinch. The guys that he's brought up, the guys that he's brought in, like this team is more aggressive, and that's what I love about it. They're not laying up. They're not trying to play the numbers as much. They're trying to take the opportunity, and they're going to try to absolutely grasp it, hold on to it, and hold it with them every chance they can. And I mean, the reality is like this. Our strikeout numbers have went up, okay, but so has our stolen base, our batting average, our runs batted in, and our runs scored. Everything's went up, and that's because we're being more aggressive. We're being smarter, but not fully to the smart of where we're taking our guys out of position to really kind of play baseball. It kind of seemed like it was that way like the last couple of years with Ron Gardenhire. We get ourselves in a spot, but we were just like, oh my gosh, we have to save everything that we can. So that'd be the difference between, like, here's kind of the situation that I'm thinking of right off the top of my head that I can use as an example. If we get a guy on first with 1 out, it's more or less, it seemed like last couple of years where we have guys that we know can hit, but not necessarily as confident in. We would keep them on first and just hope that we get an extra base hit to put us in position. Where this year, it's like we got a lot of guys that we have confidence in on the base pads, and that we know if we can keep building that momentum, that it's going to keep rolling. And that's when we see games where it's 14-0 because we just have that momentum, where we have a guy stealing now from first to second with 1 out, not a care in the world, and then we get a base hit and score the run, and that just brings the whole momentum back. And that's been a lot of the parts this season, because there's been games where we look on paper, yeah, we're not as talented as the other teams, but we get it done playing smarter baseball, and that's been a really cool thing to see. And I mean, the guys that we have coming up, this system is starting to get built, and I think we're starting to get a little bit of what we are picturing in our minds as far as building the base around with this team. And now we got the young firepower with Green and Torque coming up the rear, and it's going to make this team explosive in a year or two. That could be competing up there. This is a team to watch out, I think, legit for sure. That might be the homer in me talking as a Detroit fan, but come on, man. You can't just bypass that there's something special going on here.
I definitely agree. I'm so excited for the future, and what a time to be a Detroit sports fan. You know, that was great. You're going to the game on Saturday. I went to the game about 2 weeks ago with some friends from my other job, my country club job. I think it's amazing. I'm so excited to see what we do in the future. I hope we keep winning. You know, second place in the division. Who knows? We could possibly get a wild card spot. I'm not saying, you know, that's out of reach. So I just love what they're doing. I hope they keep winning. I hope Mickey please get 500 for our Detroit fans. We haven't seen him hit like this since the triple crown. Like, it's been so long. So I'm very happy he's healthy. You know, what a time. What a time right now. You know, with Cade, #1 pick, and the Tigers turning a new leaf. You know, so I think this is amazing. Brandon, I really enjoyed the show today. It feels great to be back.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And we can move right now into our very last subject, our debate of the day. And it's a doozy. And Travis, the question I have for you is, which sport does not get enough media attention right now in our society? What would be your pick for sport that does not get enough media attention?
Brandon, amazing question. You threw a curveball at me. I was not expecting that. I'm going to say the sport that does not get enough media attention is soccer. I think soccer is very underrated. A lot of people don't know, but the World Cup is actually up there with the Super Bowl as the most watched sporting event in the entire world. So that means it's literally 1A or 1B, you know, whichever one you want to choose between that and the Super Bowl. I think soccer is very underrated. You know, when you got guys like Lionel Messi, even though he's not with FC, you know, Barcelona anymore, you know, Cristiano Ronaldo, and a lot of other great, you know, soccer players. They aren't talked about a lot. And, you know, the thing is, they have one of the highest salary caps in their sport. So these guys do make a lot of money. So I think it's interesting how they fly under the radar. And the reason I picked soccer, I feel like it's one of the hardest sports to play. You're always running, and you're running. It's so hard to get a goal. So I respect a lot of respect to those guys and females that play soccer as well. You know, I think that's a sport that flies under the radar. It doesn't get talked about as much, even though it's one of the most viewed sports at the same time.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That's definitely one I would put up there. I'm going to keep the theme of what you were just mentioning, not surprised whatsoever. My pick is going to be track and field, and that's call me biased, call me a homer, whatever. I'll take it. I almost wore my Run 24/7 shirt just for this moment of the podcast right here, but at the end of the day, track and field is an awesome sport, and we've gotten to grow and see how awesome it's been with the Olympics. And I think people want to see that more often. We want to see world records getting broke. We want to see our countrymen and women doing so well at the national level. And it's just been kind of been sad that we have to like try to tune into YouTube TV to watch some of these international national competitions. And it'd be so nice to get more of them on TV because, like, all these fantastic races, whether it's the 400, the 5K, the 100-meter dash, the 400 hurdles, the steeplechase, of course, one of my personal favorites. Like, I would love to see more of these more often. Even the field events too, long jump, high jump, shot put, all these events, I think people are super enthusiastic to watch. And it's just a shame that they have to wait every 4 years to truly see it on a national scale. So that's something that I wish would get more media attention personally, because we need more people to watch track and field because it is a glorious sport. Everybody can do it, and everybody can be great at it with a team or individually.
Right, definitely. And Brandon, you have to, I see a little bit bias on this fight. I think that's amazing to choose track and field. That is a very hard sport to be in, and that's amazing that you are a part of it. That's not a bad choice too. I also like the fact we chose track, in soccer. We didn't choose some of the obvious. Some people might have said, we could have chose hockey, baseball, basketball, football, any of the main sports, I guess, per se. But, we kind of chose, like, the underdog, so I kind of like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to my dogs that I represent with Ferris, and I'm super excited that we got our season coming. But don't forget, guys, make sure that you tune in right now. And you can subscribe to the podcast because we will be bringing you all the Ferris sports news and updates. And we will be having previews rolling around. I think we got one more show in us, guys. Hopefully we can get Travis and Joe back together. But we're going to do a full Ferris sports preview for you guys because we got a lot to unpack. But we hope you enjoyed all of this professional sports talk for sure with the shot callers. And we appreciate your view. And don't forget, as always, whatever platform you are on right now, whether it's a podcast or a video platform, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow, and make sure that you have notifications set on because you're not going to want to miss out on the content, because I know for a fact we're going to have some epic guests on the show, incredible collabs, and it's only August. We're going to be getting even better, and I'm super excited for it. But, Travis, thank you so much for joining us today, man, and we appreciate you hopping on the show.
Oh, you're welcome, and I definitely, obviously, like we talked before the show, Brandon, plan to do more work with you in 2 weeks. Can't wait to be back in person with you to do the shows back in the studio. It's going to be a great – Ferris has been our second home, so it's going to be an amazing time. Thank you.
Yeah, we can't wait. We can't wait to get back, guys. We're getting so excited. I already know I got show plans already starting to be made up and all these cool things lined up that we want for you guys. And make sure that you leave us a like if you like this video or this podcast. Make sure you let us know and give us a review. And we just appreciate you guys. And we want you guys to be involved with us because we want to know what you guys want to hear and see. So make sure that you do those things. But thank you guys for tuning in, and until next time, we will see you later.